Alrighty, so we are recording, and thank you, Jennifer, for chatting with me. I'm super excited to hear about the infamous cookbook that you've shared about in the Create a Joyful Life group. But first, I kind of wanted to just, tell you thank you for all the things that you've posted and your recipes that you've shared, and from like salad dressings to all just such a range of things. So where did you learn to cook? Who taught you?
Foods class in high school.
Seriously?
Well, kind of, yeah. I mean, my mom cooked, but it's not her forte. Even today, when I was telling her I was doing this, she was like, "Are you going to tell him you learned from your mama?" I was like, "No." Because, it just wasn't her thing. Mm-hmm. We ate fine, we ate good. It wasn't until later on. But no, I did take foods in high school, and I really enjoyed it, so much so that I took the next class. And it's really just all self-taught.
Do you like to bake too, or is it mostly savory type things?
I love baking. I wish I could be really artsy about it.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh, ridiculous with the cookies, and they're so beautiful, in the cakes, and no, I don't have that touch. Mm-mm. But I could.
Yeah, I can't, I'm really good with the flavors of a cake or making a homemade cake or cookies or whatever, but I can't master icing. I lose it when it comes to doing icing. So that's just not my forte. Maybe I don't have the right tools to, I don't have a fancy icing thingy or whatever.
That too, though, it takes a lot of practice. I'm like, God, I would be so fat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here's another.
Eat more icing. Yes, tomorrow is actually my youngest son's birthday, and he requested a watermelon cake. And I was like, well, do you mean you want an actual, a cake that looks like a watermelon, or a cake that tastes like a watermelon? What are you talking about here? And he's like, no, I want it to taste like a watermelon. So I searched and searched, and I found online there was actually a from scratch recipe that uses watermelon puree. So you cut the watermelon up and put it in there. So we'll cross my fingers that it tastes good. And then secretly, I'm not going to tell him this, but I hope he doesn't hear me. But I'm going to put a little bit of beetroot powder in there to make it extra pink, because that is you can use that instead of food dye, and it is bright pink. So hopefully enough to make it.
Yeah, I would think so well.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't taste like beets.
Cross for sure.
He doesn't like to taste it. So how has it changed? We've commented here and there about how cooking for two people is different than cooking for a family. Have you experimented more since your kids are grown?
No, it's mostly just getting the food portions down. Mm-hmm. I will say that that has been a difficult transition for me. Mm-hmm. Luckily, Troy eats leftovers. He loves them. He's in construction, so he takes his lunch to work. So whatever leftovers we got, which is really great.
Mm-hmm. Does he picky, or do you have fun with it, or do you cook for? I think that's one of the things that I think is interesting, as a home cook, how we sort of navigate preparing foods that the people who are eating it will enjoy it. And how much do you do it for yourself versus because you like to cook versus doing it for the people that you're feeding? I think that's one of the interesting for that question of what are we eating for dinner? I don't know. For me, I kind of cook a little bit more for myself, and then what I feel like eating, and then I kind of make the kids are the ones that have to adapt if that's not what they want. And I'll be flexible to a certain degree, but not like they can't eat a whole separate meal or anything like that, you know?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, you posted about that. And, I would say for years, a lot of it was stuff I liked or stuff their dad liked. And luckily they weren't picky, but I think it was because their dad and I both had very expansive taste. He was pickier. I've always been a great eater. There's really not a lot I don't like. Um,
Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite that you like to cook and a favorite that you like to eat? Are they two different things?
oh, my favorite meal is beef stroganoff, and that is so not healthy.
You
But
can make it. There's healthified versions of it. Does it count?
fat, like really bad for you stuff is so good. Very often. So, what I do, let's splurge.
Yeah.
On that fat sour cream, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, real sour cream is delicious.
Oh my gosh, right? But no, that was my favorite meal growing up that my mom did make. She made that really, really good, and so that's still such a comfort food,
Mm-hmm.
and
All
it's
those
still my favorite meal.
mushrooms and the just when it simmers up. So I make mine with cabbage noodles. So instead of egg noodles, I use cabbage noodles for mine.
You might have to.
Yeah, if you slice them really thin and saute them.
That would be I'll have to try a new way because
Yeah.
I like cabbage anyway, so it wouldn't really matter to me.
I just wouldn't recommend doing it with red cabbage because I did that once and it's not very pretty because the purple.
That's the color you're hoping
Yes. So you have like the cream sauce, from the stroganoff sauce or whatever, and then you had like the purple, and it was just not pretty. So use regular cabbage.
I'll keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
None of the red cabbage.
Yes, do regular cabbage, and then I make mine with part of cream cheese and then part sour cream, and
Cheese.
yeah, because then I don't know, because I like, so it's a little thicker. Not that cream cheese is any better for you, but you could go totally, to the like coconut cream if you wanted to, but I think that wouldn't be the right flavor. I don't know.
That'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm. It has that
Sweet though.
the thickness.
Right. But no,
Yeah.
that is my favorite meal, and yes, I've kind of tweaked that through the years. Instead of like just white mushrooms, which
Mm-hmm.
For the longest time is what you used, and we've spread out. Now I do a whole mixture.
Ooh, like what?
Varieties.
Just a different range of mushrooms, different kinds of mushrooms.
Oh yeah, all kinds of different kinds. Takis, and then it gets expensive, but it's all good.
Yeah. That is making me think. I'll have to consider that for the next time.
Well, the teas have their different texture, and they do have their different flavors, and they really blend really, really well. And I got that from I make a what's the hoisin glaze shiitake beef tenderloin. It's really, really good.
Well, I don't think you've shared that one.
No, I have not. No, I actually in a long while. No, I haven't shared that one.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to get that one on in the group. What was the one that you just posted that your family, that was from the cookbook? Oh shoot, this is probably gonna be a horrible question. Oh, you even took a screenshot of it, I think, of the recipe. I can't remember that your family requested from the cookbook. Oh, well, I can't remember which one it was, but it was something that was.
Shrimp oil. Was that the one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because it had the different seasonings in it. Uh-huh.
Oh, Troy requested that. We didn't put it on my regular timeline because my kids don't know about that.
So they're gonna be mad at you if they watch your video.
Their kids going away when they get older just cook their, oh, I'm just cooking your shrimp boil, some shrimp boil. I want to come to dinner. Okay. Yeah, that's how you get them. Seriously, my adult kids will text me, Mom, I need some chicken rolls.
Oh, that is so awesome.
Adults, they'll want their like favorite foods you made when they were kids, you know. Be like, Mom. So, and that's how you get them back home. See, and that's why food's important. You know, I mean, it's something we can all relate to and all talk about. Like I said, we all need it.
Mhm.
So,
That's pretty sweet though, about that idea of how they have those memories and those attachments to it. I think that that's really a way of bonding, too, and those shared experiences and having that connection to their childhood. That's pretty neat. It's giving me something to think about, because I don't cook a lot of the same things, because I'm always finding, new stuff. And that's actually something they kind of complain about, that I don't do a lot of the same meals. So part of what I like about the group too is that I am archiving what I'm making, and I can go back and see. So that's kind of fun as well. So I don't know, maybe that's an interesting question to ask the boys what their favorites are, and kind of make sure I rotate them in a little bit more to create that connection. That's pretty neat.
that's usually the opposite problem everyone else has. It's, well, I'd make the same, we're generally good at, say, 20 meals, that historically that's what you'll make, your go-tos, no matter what it is. And it's like, oh, I don't want any of that. So that's how it is for me. Like, no, that doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound good. No, I don't want to make that. So I love that you do cook so many different things. Like, man, I really got to branch out more. Which I did that during this quarantine. I actually like, let's look up some new recipes. I'm getting off it. I have a little more time to put in this.
Yeah. So do you, even with just two people or cooking for two people, do you not menu plan, or do you just kind of play it by ear in terms of what you guys are going to make?
Never menu planned, ever.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not an organized person. My cookbook's organized, but nothing else in my life. I've never menu planned.
It's more intuitive and what you feel like and what you have time for. Like and I think that's a little bit of a misnomer or whatever, because you're still menu planning. It's just not in a, it's more, not as premeditated, if you will. You're still planning it. You're still like considering what it is and who's going to eat it, what you have, and in the pantry and all that. It's just the time frame might be a little bit different.
Sister-in-law, like, she will menu plan for a whole week and like write out everything she's making, goes to the grocery. That's what she's buying, which I love that. I'm like, I should do that more, because I really hate shopping, and grocery shopping is the worst part of it all to me. So if I wanted to cut down on the trips of the part I hate the most, I should do better at that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I do that. I menu plan for the whole week, grocery shop for the whole week, or get grocery delivery, which is what usually happens. But I do that somewhat so that way, because I'll have decision fatigue. Like, by the course of working through the whole day, and then when I have to start thinking about dinner, if I have to make a decision, I would just give up. So if I take the time to write it all down, then when I'll even forget. It'll be, 4:00 or 5:00, and I'll go into the kitchen. I'll be like, what did I say I was going to make today? And I'll look down the list and I'll be like, oh, that's it. So then it's like, it's so freeing, because then I don't have to spend all this time, writing. I might change the recipe, or I might look at it and say, oh wait, I don't want to do what I had planned for Tuesday today. I'll do it on Thursday or whatever, but it's just, I don't know. I think some of it is just I don't want to make the decision.
No, so I do a little bit better now than I used to. I don't necessarily menu plan, but we have a deep freeze, so we buy meat like on sale, which I didn't have that before, like when
Mm-hmm.
my younger. So now at least on Sundays, I'll pull out. Okay, we're gonna have chicken breast one day because you got to get the stuff thawed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
I will pull out meats according, not necessarily with the plan on what I'm going to do with it, but
Mm-hmm.
okay, I have pork I need to make, some pork chops. What am I going to do with those? I pulled a whole chicken,
Yep.
with a plan for that. So I am planning a little bit more, I guess I could say, in that aspect than I ever did before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, there's that.
That definitely cuts down on the grocery store experience. I can see, and I love to grocery shop, but not, if I had to do it all the time, I don't know, it's just not very efficient in my mind. You know what I mean?
Right.
So your favorite thing that you enjoy eating, is the beef stroganoff, but what about cooking? Do you have a favorite thing that you like to prepare?
Meal wise, no. I mean, because I love cooking, like all aspects of it. Like it doesn't matter what you're giving me to cook, just
Mm-hmm.
that part I really enjoy. My favorite thing to do though is to cook for parties. Like if I was to go into, say, I would never open a restaurant. I mean, I worked with the school district, and I've always worked in different restaurants. So I know the work. I know that it makes me sound so lazy, but I know what it takes to do it. Do you
Mm-hmm.
know? We're working 10, 12 hours days. Your dishwasher calls in. Guess who's coming in? The owner. I never had a desire to own a restaurant besides the profit margin and the turnover, and the failure rate is terrible. But I could be a caterer if I was going to do something.
Wow, that's awesome.
So
Do you like making big dishes or appetizers, or like what part of it? And like so you can, like, if you have a party and there's going to be like 50 people there, like you're really good at saying like, okay, well that would be, I don't know, how many of whatever ingredient, and you can just like automatically kind of multiply it out.
write out a whole menu in the grocery shop, I could get that done pretty quick. That actually came from 10 years working in the cafeteria at the school. You got 1,300 students in 2.5 hours. I learned a lot on that job. As far as that stuff, the meal planning and proportions, that was probably the biggest
Wow,
learning
that's
lesson.
so interesting that it would have that you could take that from that into like the party type thing. So human beings are pretty consistent with that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, you can transfer the data and not even realize you're doing it. And I would say I would learn that when I really figured that out was when my oldest daughter graduated. And I had this whole menu and made all this food, and it ended up being in the middle of a heat wave. It was 102 degrees.
Oof.
Nobody, I mean, it was so hot that day. Nobody was eating. And of course, I'd made way too much food, which people tend to do at parties. You end up having all this food because you're afraid to run out. That's everyone's greatest fear. So they always end up making way too much. And I was like, I could transfer what I know. I know how to cook every day for 1,300 students. I know exactly how much food.
Dang,
So I can transfer that data, and yeah,
that
after
is
that.
impressive.
But I
Yeah.
can't do it cooking, for a family of 5, 6 to 2. Go figure.
Hashtag irony.
Makes
That is awesome.
no, you know, I mean, I don't know.
I was going to ask you, one of the questions was, what did you find the most challenging about cooking? And I think we may have found the answer, how to go from 1,300 to 2.
Right. No, my most difficult is time. I already know that. I'm so But you know what? I have problems with time management in every aspect of my life. So it's only natural. It carries over.
It's a made up construct anyway that we all just pretend like we agree on.
Right. No, I'm getting better, at that, but I do suck at that. Okay, we're half hour late. Sort
Is
of
it
like this.
because, is it,
4 minutes.
yeah, it was all good. So is it the part of like, oh, this is going to take 10 minutes to cook and this part, or like how long it's going to take in general? And I have the luxury a little bit because I can go from my work to my kitchen. So I don't have I lost you. Oh, there you go. I don't have like a commute, as far as that goes. So sometimes I don't really ever look at something and go like, oh, that's going to take too long to cook necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, is that what you mean by the time aspect of things?
Sometimes it just depends on how big. The other thing is sometimes the meal takes longer to make and prepare than
Then what
like
might?
when I come home, he's like starving. I've gotten better. Like I'll call him if I'm leaving work. Okay, honey, will you turn the oven off?
Yeah, exactly.
He's getting
Yeah.
done while I commute home. If we're
Mm-hmm.
having, pasta that night, like, okay, get the pot on the stove.
Just start boiling the water. Mm-hmm.
When I walk in, at least I'm not still waiting on like those
Mm-hmm.
parts.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the shift that you have with moving and everything too. That's a big transition to, I think, go from cooking for a family and moving. And there's just a lot to the adapting, as far as that goes.
So
Okay. So the cookbook, I want to hold it up. Do you have it?
the cookbook.
Yeah. That's the binder.
Here.
The binder. Oh, can you turn it sideways? How thick is it? Oh, okay. All right. So
So,
that has how many years of recipes in there?
oh my gosh, I probably made my first one probably like early 2000s.
Oh, wow.
So I have a couple others as well, but no, this is like, this has all my main stuff in it.
The things the
Yeah.
kids ask for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the things they ask for, the recipes. They're, I mean, I don't know about you, but like you get known for making a certain thing. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, I don't necessarily, but because I never make the same thing, but I can understand.
Yeah, but even like say
Mhm.
family functions, like at holidays, my sister she hosts Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
My sister does Christmas. I do all the baking, all the desserts. So yeah, those recipes are in there. Shrimp boil recipes in there. Yeah. There's also comics and Landers. I was looking through it tonight because I don't always get to do that, but like I've got an Ann Landers column cut out from 1999.
That's awesome. That's where that chicken shortcake recipe that I have, that was Jason and I made it before we were married when we were dating, and I still have the newspaper clipping. I think it was from 1999 as well.
Yeah, my paella recipe that, and a lot of these recipes are in my head. I don't
Yeah.
even need it, but it's all there.
But that's cool though. I think that that's really neat to, I don't know, have that. Again, it goes back to that connection to food, and like, and that for your children have it. And I don't know, that's really neat. I know.
no, but no, I mean, it's all the, the good recipes. I mean, I don't know about you, and when I started cooking, I mean, and I think everybody's cooking involves, if you're not doing it like as a career in your, I mean, don't you think what you cooked in your early 20s is way different than now looking back?
Yeah, it definitely. And I kind of go through phases of what.
Right.
Mhm.
An evolution. So, but a lot of it, I mean, I've always enjoyed food. So when somebody would give me, or not, if I'd go to someone's house and they'd make this exceptional dish, like I've got a few of those in there. Like, can I have the recipe? I actually will ask for the recipe, and then I'll hound them. I'm like, can I have that recipe? Yep, I got all those in there too. My ex-husband's grandma's cookies recipes are in there, and just stuff that I've really always loved. And to me, that's like the biggest compliment you could ever give the cook.
Mm-hmm.
Any, if you like cooking and you enjoy it, but someone else can
Yeah,
really,
and it's the legacy aspect of it too, which I hadn't really thought about it like that. Like we have a family friend, you're mentioning that she was has passed away, but she was really well known for her mac and cheese. And I was just thinking like I should write down that recipe because she was close to our family, and we were together a lot of times, like for St. Patrick's Day. So it would be her dish that would be made to go with corned beef and cabbage would be her mac and cheese dish. So like and there's a legacy part to that. So
say, I have a pumpkin roll recipe that I got from a friend that I went to church with, and she'd made them, and I was doing this bake sale, and I was like, oh, those seem like they'd be a great thing to sell. And she was like, I don't give that recipe out. She's like, but I'll give it to you. But if you give it to anyone else, I'll kill you. Like literally kill you. And died of a brain tumor years later. Like that was like 10 years later. And a couple of years ago, I was able to take that recipe and give it to her daughters who didn't have it because it wasn't written down. And I was like, I got this recipe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's total legacy stuff. And no, I don't get that recipe out.
You made a promise.
I can't. I mean, I gave it to her daughters, but I figured there's like some leeway for that.
Yeah. I think that there's a little bit of meaningfulness to that one.
Right.
Well, I mean, I love it when you share stuff from it. So thank you for when you do share it. I think it's awesome, and it needs to be connected to that, and and just to know that it's something that's like passed, and remade repeatedly. I don't know. I just think that that's really neat. I like that connection part of it.
Exactly.
So is that, how do you make being in the kitchen joyful? Like what are things that you do to make it fun and to make it joyful?
Oh, I flirt in the kitchen. So, I really just enjoy the whole aspect, you just I could turn on the music, or, I mean, Troy will be in there watching TV and him and I can talk. We got this great open kitchen. So, and he loves my food. So that makes it.
It does. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It does. It does. I mean, you asked if he was picky. I was like, I mean, he's not as adventurous as I am, but I mean, he is now, he is now. I don't even know how to explain it. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, he was a bachelor for 10 years. And so,
you don't know what you don't know sometimes. It's not.
So,
there are some people who are picky who are like, I would never ever eat, something with garlic in it. And then you're like, okay, But I mean, I used to never eat, there was one time I never ate green peppers and onions, like sliced up, like nothing like in a fajita. Like I would never have done this. And I mean, I was older, like I think we were married. And one time we were at a Mexican restaurant and Jason picked up a fork full of peppers and onions and was like, I will buy you a pair of Manolo Blahniks if you bite this. And they're like heels, it costs like $500. If you take this bite of, peppers and onions. And I couldn't get myself to do it. And I was so mad because I was like, I know he would have totally bought me those shoes, but I couldn't do it. It so freaked me out. So for years I would never eat peppers and onions. And then once I started cooking and I could taste the layers of flavor and know, okay, well, this is what a green pepper does, and this is what a red pepper does, and this is what a shallot does versus an onion and how much, and you get that, then I started to appreciate it in a whole different way. So I wasn't necessarily, I mean, I guess I was picky in that sense, but it takes sometimes it's just a process, I think, to get more open-minded to things, getting exposed to it in different ways or whatever, so.
Yeah, he did all the cooking. Like I said, he raised his kids, single dad, raised his kids on his own. And, he came home and it was the easy, was the thing to cook? He's exhausted. He has a physical job. So no, when I cook, he was like, I'm just glad somebody else is cooking. And then he'd having what? I'd be like, he's good. And I mean, so as long as he's not cooking it, he's like, yeah, I guess I'll try it.
Yeah, that sounds like a good compromise, though.
Okay. Yeah, we don't need that again, or you know, we don't need to make so many Brussels sprouts because I'm not going to eat.
That is the nicest way to say that. I don't think we need it. We don't need as many. We don't need as many of that. I'm going to write that one down. We don't need as many.
I'm willing to mostly try. You know, he draws the line at sushi. He's never taken me out to sushi ever, and I said that's okay. I love sushi. My kids love sushi. That's just our little family go out meal. You know, we'll do that because they're like, we can't afford to buy our own sushi. Will you take us to sushi?
See, there you go. There's another way to get the kids back home. Sushi and chicken rolls.
Exactly.
All right. Well, this was so awesome to catch up. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I was kind of excited. I was like, somebody wants to talk about cooking.
I know. Maybe if we ever get to have a party, maybe I'll ask you what I need to do.
I'll be like, what's the theme? What do you need? What do you need? No.
All right. I love it. Thank you so much. I'll catch you later. Bye.
See ya.